Like the silver screen of the talkies, but with color, smell, and sound, I found myself in Los Angeles. It was much bigger. Buses and odd-shaped cars crowded the streets. I thought about Hollywood Boulevard, then I was there. There were a lot of guys about my age with beards, and some of them were wearing earrings. The girls wore real short skirts, and they slouched along. I said hello, but they didn't hear or see me. I noticed there was a quietness about the air. There were no birds. I wondered what had happened to them. Then, I knew something was going to happen. I wondered what year it was. It certainly was not 1937. I saw a newspaper with a picture of the president. It surely wasn't Mr. Roosevelt. He was bigger, heavier, and had big ears. Then, I woke up. I had another dream, back in Hollywood. Those people, why did they dress like that? I looked up at the clock down by that big theater. It was 3:50 p.m. I walked down the street. They had names of stars in the concrete in front of a theater. I recognized a few of them. Some I'd never heard of. Why did they dress like that? Maybe it was Halloween, but it felt like early spring. There was that lack of sound, that stillness, again. Didn't they know that all the birds had gone? Something was going to happen. Then, the nurse woke me up. I was back on the boulevard again. A kid went past me, dragging a little boy by his hand. Her skirt was up pretty high, and she had a tired look. Her hair was all frowsy. There was a funny smell, like sulfuric acid. I looked around for the girl. She was gone. I walked half a block and saw the clock again. It was 3:55 p.m. on a sunny afternoon. Then it came. It wasn't nearly as hard as the earthquake we had 2 years ago. The ground shook for just an instant. People looked at each other, surprised. Then they laughed. I laughed too, this funny little shake. I was relieved and disappointed. I felt as if the ground wasn't solid under me. There was that smell again coming from the ocean. 2 kids were coming my way. Both with beards. One with earrings. One said, "Let's get out of this place. Let's go back east." He seemed scared. The sidewalks were trembling. An old lady had a little white dog in her arms. She said, "Let's go home, Frou, Frou. Mama is going to take you home." I got really scared. I started to run. The ground kept trembling. Everybody looked scared. One young lady just sat down on the sidewalk. She kept saying earthquake. It's the earthquake over and over. Then, it came again like nothing in God's world. It was as if some monster was pushing up the sidewalks. The cars were honking and moving. Then, a white car, that baby half-sized one, came sprawling from the inside lane right against the curb. The girl inside just sat there and stared. She whimpered like a little girl. The shaking had started again, but this time was different. It was like a cradle being rocked. The boulevard was breaking up, as if it were being pushed straight up by a giant shovel. People were lifted up on the sidewalks. Waters kept oozing. Then, a loud sound, like I'd never heard before, hundreds of sounds. The cries. It was awful. Then, I woke up. That dream came again. I was right in the middle of it. My eardrums felt as if they were going to burst. Noise everywhere. People falling down, some of them badly hurt. Pieces of buildings, chips, flying in the air. One hit me hard on the side of the face, but I didn't feel it. There were older people in the cars. Most of the kids were in the street. Those old guys were yelling bloody murder. Nobody could help them. Then, I felt myself being lifted up. The city was tilting toward the ocean like a picnic table being turned over, but the buildings were still holding. Everybody tried to cling to them or to get inside. Everything else around the buildings broke. Water kept coming up. Some of the bigger buildings began to crumble, like an old man with palsy. They crumbled right down to nothing. People screamed like mad. Then, I was up on the Big Bear near San Bernardino. The earth trembled again. It lasted maybe 12 seconds. It caused so much damage. Everything between the San Bernardino Mountains and Los Angeles was tilting toward the ocean, with houses and everything on it. Then, I saw the streets of Los Angeles. I could see the big lanes, dozens of big lanes still loaded with cars, 5 lanes in one place, and all the cars were sliding the same way. The ocean was coming in, moving like a huge snake across the land. It was 4:29 p.m. I saw the Garlock Fault, not just the San Andreas, that was rocking San Francisco. Mountains were coming together with the Sierra Nevada, and the San Andreas and Garlock. San Francisco was going to turn over, because of the Garlock Fault. It turned upside down and went quickly. Then, I saw the Grand Canyon, that great big gap was closing in from Nevada up to Reno, and way down to Baja California. The Boulder Dam was being pushed from underneath. Volcanoes in Mexico, Colombia, and Venezuela were erupting. Japan started to go into the sea. It was over in only a minute or two. There was nobody left. Huge tidal waves were beating against the islands of Hawaii. More flooding around the world. Black Sea was rising. Constantinople. The Suez Canal seemed to be drying up. Sicily didn't hold. Mount Etna was shaking. Huge floods in England. Water level in New York was way up. Many headed to the rural area, some on foot, some in cars that still had fuel. New lands came up somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. I found myself back in Hollywood again. It was still 4:29 p.m. People were dying in the streets. I could hear the radio blasting out, telling people not to panic. One fellow kept shouting something about the helicopters or planes going over, but I knew they couldn't. Things were happening in the atmosphere. The waves were rushing up now. The Grand Canyon was pushing together. Boulder Dam was being pushed together, then it broke apart. All radio stations went off at the same time Boulder Dam was broken. I saw the ham radio operators. They kept sounding the alarm. One kept saying, "This is California. We are going into the sea. This is California. We are going into the sea. Get to the high places. Get to the mountains. All states west, this is California, we are going into the sea." I seemed to hear this over and over, for what seemed like hours. Just those words. They kept it up until the last minute, all of them calling out, "Get to the mountains. This is California, Nevada, Colorado, Arizona, Utah. We are going into the sea." Then, I woke up.